Today's video is about this weird and fascinating ingredient called Jameed. I know this might look like a coconut, but it's actually a solid ball of sheep's yogurt. Weird, right? Known as Kashk and Kishk in parts of Central Asia, it's an ancient way of preserving dairy for long periods of time. It has a uniquely umami and funky flavour reminiscent of an aged hard cheese. That flavour makes it an important ingredient for many traditional dishes such as Jordanian and Palestinian Mansaf. They're both lamb and rice dishes cooked and served with a powerful Jameed sauce. If you're new here, I'm Obi, and today I'll teach you all about Jameed and then we'll use it to make some Mansaf. Now, let's get started. So back to the Jameed. What is it and why should you know about it? Jameed is considered to be a food of the Bedouin people, who are nomadic tribes that live within the deserts of the Middle East. Many of these tribes are involved in the industry of shepherding livestock, such as sheep and goats, and where you get sheep, you get loads of sheep's milk. In the hot desert sun, dairy doesn't last that long, so preserving it in the form of Jameed extends the lifetime from a few days to a few years. To do this, sheep's milk is turned into yogurt, then it's strained and salted before being shaped into balls. It's left to air or sun dry for a couple of weeks until it turns completely rock solid. Not only is it a highly nutritious food source for Bedouins, but it's also a useful commodity for them to sell as it travels well and lasts forever. Apart from Jameed, which is pure yogurt, some countries make kishk or kashk. That's a similar hardened yogurt which is mixed with a grain such as wheat or barley. Recordings of this date back to the 10th century, and you can find it used in cuisines all over the Middle East and Central Asia. So why is it such an interesting ingredient? Well, just like cheese, Jameed ages and develops a uniquely delicious flavour. I'd describe it as a funky cheese flavour which is salty and full of umami flavour compounds. But don't just take my word for it. Here's my friend Kevin, who has cooked food from over 100 countries on his YouTube channel, Kevin All Over.
So Jameed is a strained and dried goat or sheep's milk yogurt. So in that respect, it's similar to a cheese, and it has similar flavors to a sheep or goat's milk cheese. Now this one that I got in a reconstituted liquid form tastes just like a funkier, stronger version of Pecorino Romano. So if you ever had Pecorino, you kind of know what to expect.
Check Kevin's channel out if you're interested in seeing unique recipes from all over the world. That Pecorino flavour he mentioned is why Jameed is so popular, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's full of naturally occurring MSG. To get it into food, the Jameed is soaked and then blended with water until it forms a Jameed base. This stuff smells and looks like a funky cheese cream, so if you're a chef, I'm sure there are hundreds of ways you could use this. Today I'll be showing you the most popular way it's used in the Middle East, and that's in making Mansaf. We'll begin by preparing our Jameed. If you want the quick way of doing this, look for these liquid Jameed boxes. It's the same stuff as the solid Jameed, except it has already been liquidized. For this recipe you'll need 200 grams or 7 ounces of solid Jameed, which you need to soak in a bowl full of water. In its place you can use a 500 gram box of liquid Jameed. Let your solid Jameed soak for 2 hours, and every 30 minutes replace the water so that it draws out the excess salt. While it's soaking, we can cook the lamb. You'll need between 1 to 1.5 kilograms or 2 to 3 pounds of lamb, and I went for lamb shoulder, which you should get cut into large pieces. Place this in a stock pot, then pour over enough water to completely submerge the lamb. Put the lid on the pot and turn the heat to high so that the pot comes to a boil. After boiling for about 10 minutes, there should be a significant amount of foam on the surface. Use a ladle or a spoon to skim the foam off of the stock and discard it. Next, add in 2 medium onions, which you should just peel and add whole. Then follow that up with 6 bay leaves and 10 cardamom pods. Turn the heat to medium-low and let this simmer for between 1.5 to 2 hours. The objective here is to make a clear lamb stock with very little colour. You'll know it's done when the meat is perfectly tender and it's almost falling off the bone. Don't move on from this step until a dinner knife can easily be poked into the meat. When the stock is done, place another pot on the stove and add in 1 tablespoon of clarified or regular butter. Turn the heat to high and allow it to melt, then add in 3/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of ground turmeric. Mix those together, then add in 2.5 cups of medium grain rice, which you should wash thoroughly and drain before adding it. I was using Egyptian rice, but something like Calrose or Japanese rice will work great. Fry the rice with the butter for about 2 to 3 minutes until it is golden and shiny. Strain your lamb stock with a colander, then pour enough lamb stock into the pot to submerge the rice by about 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters. Turn the heat up to high and allow this to boil uncovered until the water level drops below the rice. When it looks something like this, place a lid on top of the pot, then turn the heat to its lowest setting and let it steam for 20 minutes. You want the rice to be perfectly cooked when done, but having slightly clumpy rice is traditional. Meanwhile, take the Jameed out of the water and slice it into smaller pieces. This just makes it easier to blend, so cut it to a size that's suitable for your blender. You'll find that instead of the rock hard texture it had before, the texture will now be crumbly. Add the Jameed pieces to your blender, then pour in 300ml of water and blend it until smooth. Mine was still a little chunky and had a thick texture, so I went back and added more water until it resembled heavy cream. I was hoping to show you a Jameed substitute with goat's yogurt and parmesan, but we accidentally bought one with added honey, so you'll need to figure that out yourself. Pour your Jameed into a deep pot, and like I mentioned, it should have a smooth and creamy texture. Turn the heat up to medium-high, then add about 200ml of stock to the pot and let it come to a simmer for 10 minutes. Some people make this a little thick and others thin it out to the texture of soup, so it's up to you how you serve it. You'll need to mix this every minute so that the Jameed doesn't settle, and be careful not to boil it, otherwise the mixture will split. The one thing you should not do is cover the pot with a lid, because that's guaranteed to curdle it. When the mixture is bubbling like this, add in your cooked pieces of lamb and then simmer this for 10 minutes further. When done, the meat will be coated in a layer of the Jameed sauce, and hopefully your rice has also finished steaming. The final thing to prepare is some toasted almonds as a garnish. I melted 1 tablespoon of clarified butter in a pan and added 70 grams of blanched almonds. I toasted them on high heat for about 3 to 4 minutes, then I poured them out to drain on a paper towel lined plate. To serve, you should use a large communal platter, and at the base of it you should place some sarj, markook or lavash bread. Spread a small amount of the Jameed sauce onto the bread, and we'll serve the rest of the sauce on the side. Place your steamed rice on top of the bread in a pile, then remove the pieces of meat from the Jameed and place them on the rice. You can also drizzle on some of that Jameed sauce, and before serving the rest of it, make sure to strain it for clumps. Finally, top it with the fried almonds, and then I garnished with a small amount of chopped parsley. So there you have it, a Jordanian Mansaf made with the wonderful Jameed. This is served at all manner of special occasions in Jordan, from birthdays and weddings to funerals and religious holidays. I'm certain this will be one of the most unique things you ever try, and I'd love to know what else you think Jameed will work with. Now, let's check out the taste test. I'm pretty sure this stuff is like a Jordanian MSG bomb. It's basically got a funky flavour, kind of like parmesan, and we all know parmesan has loads of naturally occurring MSG in it, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is like full-on MSG. Tasting this, you can easily see why it's the national dish of Jordan. The flavours of the dish are rich and powerful, while the texture of the meat is soft and tender. I definitely think the Jameed gives us a unique flavour, and like I mentioned, it has a slightly funky aroma. I'm interested to see what you think of this dish and if you like it, so send me some photos on Instagram if you give it a try. As always, a big thank you to all of our patrons for making this video possible, and the link is in the description box if you want to join them. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with another recipe.